Hey guys, how you doing today? Today we're going to talk about what's going on in Texas, the Texas power grid failures, right? I think it's a timely story to talk about the issues of climate change, issues of privatization, issues of capitalism, and to really show like what our future under capitalism is going to look like, right? I remember when the power grid went down in Venezuela, people were very quick to be like, to point out, oh, that's socialism for you. Yep, socialism, power grid failures, socialism, right? And of course, ignoring the fact that Venezuela is undergoing massive sanctions, which has affected their power grid completely, as reported by the UN. Well, it's not socialism in this case, right? Like, it's not socialism in this case. It's absolutely a capitalist system that has shown us completely that it is unprepared to deal with the shifting climate, and it is unprepared to deal with the populace and the realities of these things. So, what is happening? So there's an organization in Texas. It's a privately held organization, which is essentially a cabal or a cartel of private-run individuals. They exist under the umbrella of the Electric Consistency Council of Texas. I'm sure I got that wrong. ETCOT. I memorized this before I started this, but all of a sudden, you know how it goes, right? You know how it goes. In any case, you can look this up. It's easy to find. They run the power grid in Texas the way that you would expect any private organization to run any utility, right? They keep costs at an absolute threadbare minimum, and they do not account for wear and tear. They do not account for any of these kind of things. They just deal with problems as they arise. And now this has come and circled around and bit them in the butt, right? And so what has happened? Well, their power grid went down. For a frame, and their power grid went down in what is being called record cold days, right? Record-breaking cold days have led to a failure of their power grid. Now, let's be real clear. So we're talking about temperatures that are about as low as -2, okay? So in Texas, -2 is a total disaster, and people don't know what to do, and it's a horrible situation. Here in Canada, I mean, look where I'm at, right? Look where I'm at, guys. Here in Canada, my family out in Manitoba, right? They're in the middle of -30 weather, okay? So if there was a failure of the power grid, they would die. Very likely that many people that I know would die if there was a failure of the power grid on the level that we're talking about in Texas. So this is a very important story to me, and a very important story to all of us, and to remind us that capital is not going to care about the citizens that it's under. And how do we know that it's not going to care? Well, the second this power grid failure happened, what did they do? They jacked the prices, right? They jacked the price of power because, hey baby, that's just supply and demand, right? That's just supply and demand. You can't do things like ration power. You can't do things like spread it around. You can't do things to try to help people. No, you got to hit people. I've seen people who have been posting online. They've been posting online bills as high as $1,500 for the month to heat their house so that they don't freeze, right? Like, and there is no emergency protocol. There is no emergency setup. There is no plan, right? People are just basically told, stay in your house. I don't know, chop up your fence, right? Break up your furniture. Start a fire. And this is exactly how capital is going to act, right? When larger climate change related concerns begin to happen. When larger climate change concerns begin to happen, the private individuals who own these utilities, who own the housing, who own all of the systems that make our society function and make our civilization function, they are going to A, abandon us, and then B, jack the price so that they can exploit our need for these services, right? That's how it works. And the fact is that they don't take into account things like climate change, right? Because that's what's happened. That's how you get record cold in the region, right? They don't take into account climate change. They don't take into account basic wear and tear, right? And so here's a situation. I was told, the Venezuela power grid failure is a complete failure of socialism and a complete failure of their government. We should invade them or put sanctions on them, ignoring the fact that the sanctions were the problem. But here's a situation where the capitalist system itself has obviously led to the collapse of this power grid, that greedy industrialists who refuse to pay for upgrades to their system, even though people are telling them to do so, even though people are saying, hey, we should look into this, hey, we should care about this, hey, isn't there a problem that's actually coming and we should actually take a look at it? That's not how the capitalists are going to roll. They're just going to deal with the problem as it happens, because that's the cheapest option, right? These are the people who we've put in charge of major infrastructure projects and major systems, right? Like, a system like this should have major regulatory control. It should have major governmental control. Like, the idea that private individuals who are completely interested in their own profit and nothing else are the ones who are in control of this, instead of elected representatives, instead of some kind of governmental oversight, which can be done through a sober system, actually talking to the public about what they want. We're going to get more of this kind of stuff. It's going to keep happening, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to become more serious, right? So here's just the taster. Here's the taster. The Texas power grid goes down. The citizens are largely abandoned. The system overcharges them for their electricity. And we're told is just the natural course of things. This is what kills me, right? And this is how the capitalists justify this sort of stuff. It's like, well, yes, of course, that's supply and demand, right? The supply is down and the demand is high, and so of course prices go up. Forgetting the truth that they're the ones that created this situation, right? They're the ones who have the power. They're the ones who can exploit that power. And we're told that this is necessary, right? We're told that, there's nothing that can be done. Well, there's nothing that can be done if you're a wealthy Texas, industrialist, right? If you don't actually care about the people who are freezing in their houses, right? You don't actually care about any of that. If what you care about is just maintaining your bottom line. And for these guys, for these capitalists, it's a great opportunity. What a great opportunity for them, right? To make a whole lot of money, to plunge a lot of people into debt, to plunge a lot of people into further serfdom, right? This is how capitalists view the world. And they're going to continue doing it this way. And what do you think is going to happen once we start dealing with these issues in our food supply, right? Once fossil fuels start to dry up, once fossil fuels start to run out, right? We've already hit peak oil. We have crested the peak oil. The oil that we have is the oil that we have. It's very unlikely that we're suddenly going to discover huge new sources of oil, right? Because we've looked about and the cost of getting the oil that's in the ground through fracking or deep sea drilling or any of this kind of stuff is so dangerous and prohibitive that we can't do it. But we're going to. You watch. We're going to. We're going to go to the very bottom of the ocean and we're going to plunge its depths and probably release some sort of kraken or something like that. Right? Maybe Cthulhu will come and save us from all of this nonsense. And so we should be taking a look at this Texas power supply issue and have deep skepticism, right? Here is a situation and it's being delivered to us nakedly. It's completely open. This is a privatized electrical grid that has failed its citizens exactly when the citizens need the power, right? And the response from the capitalist class is to completely exploit them and plunge them into debt so that they don't freeze in their own houses, right? Like this, and once the oil starts to dry up, once it becomes more costly to actually run the machinery to do our agricultural work, once it becomes more costly to actually deliver this stuff to our cities, to our towns, right? Once it becomes more costly to do all that, the capitalists are just going to jack the price, right? There's going to be less food delivered because the land will become more arid. And it's going to lead to food shortages. And once those food shortages start, the capitalists are just going to jack the price on us. And we're going to be told, well, if you can't afford it, you can't eat. And they're going to use all of these trite, very simplistic ways. Oh, well, you just need to get a better job, right? These are the statements that they're going to make to us. Oh, you just need to get a better job. You just, oh, you should have saved more, right? You should have prepared for this kind of thing, because they know and understand, and will say to your face that they're completely untrustworthy, right? And yet, for some reason, we're supposed to still allow them to maintain power, right? We're still supposed to allow them to stay in power. So again, as I've been saying on this channel over and over and over again, here is a situation where this type of system, this privatized electrical grid, should be nationalized. It should belong to the people of Texas. It should belong the main beneficiaries in terms of financing, in terms of wage gain, should be the workers, should be the people who are actually doing the work, instead of this cabal of power tycoons who have arranged themselves in a council so that they can manipulate prices, so that they can control the system for their own benefit, right? So that they can act as the worthless middlemen standing between the populace and their needs for heat, their need for base electricity, these sorts of things. And especially in America, and especially in a place like Texas, is just caught in this rugged individualism idea, right? Just bewildered that such a thought that if a bunch of selfish people get into a room and plot against the populace, that will somehow work against the populace. And people are bewildered by this. And when I stand up and say something very simple, like, hey, we should nationalize that, right? Nationalization has been a success across Canada. Basically, anytime we've nationalized something, it leads to lower costs, it leads to higher services. Specifically just because you're getting rid of the people who do no work in the system, right? That by itself has to increase efficiency of the grid, has to increase the efficiency of the service, because you're no longer paying for a parasite who's doing no work, right? So my heart goes out to the people of Texas. I hope that you come together and realize that you're being exploited. I hope you come together and realize that this privatization model fails, and fails badly when you need it the most. Okay, this is going to be the end of this video. There's the like button. Boop, boop, boop. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Really piss off your conservative uncle. If you've made it to this point, guys, please subscribe. I think it's interstellar law. If you make it to the end of one of these videos, you've got to subscribe. Please don't let these people gaslight you, right? My whole life has been just a series of being gaslit by capitalists who are actively going to abandon you the second any crisis happens, as we're seeing here in Texas. Go have a drink. Go have some fun, guys. We're in the middle of just an absolute chaos situation, and we need all the help we can get. Good luck. We're gonna need it.